love it.
Is it really? It's
And this is where I...
Have you tried plugging it back in again? Okay. All right, everybody. We are live. We are stumbling over our words. TableBreakers, Fumbles, how to make them more entertaining. My name is Bruce, and we are discussing the joys of the flip side of last week's coin. What goes wrong when things just don't roll your way? With me tonight, I have Mr. Baron G-Rock, Connell the Cigar DM, Mr. Shadow and Sun, Kai, Jade, and myself round out the bottom three. Welcome to the show, and we are live. All right, so do we have anything from last week that we need to answer before we start?
I really don't think so. I think we pretty much got into the majority of the weeds there. So in last week to this week, you're going to hear roughly the same questions, same type of questions, because we're looking at the flip side. So we're looking at instead of those great, amazing nat 20s, we're looking at those beautiful, the things that Jade always loves to see because he usually rolls them, those natural ones.
I mean,
Got no luck and got no chance.
Yeah?
I miss Jeff.
We're all gonna die!
Yep.
You know, I just recently talked to the guy not that long ago on the concept of maybe finding a local game or starting a local game. And I'm thinking to myself, do I want Jeff Kopech as a player? Only if I'm not the DM is what I decided.
Let that be someone else's burden.
Hey, Jade, what are you doing on Tuesdays?
Nope. Tuesdays, local people can catch me in Peoria Heights every other Tuesday for open board game night.
Well, that sounds not like... Yeah, I got nothing.
Sounds fun.
Oh, it is fun.
Well, don't you guys do it at a bar where they serve alcohol?
We start at a shop, but then the shop eventually moves to the bar when the shop closes.
I've been doing my Tuesdays wrong.
Yeah, you have.
Right?
Actually, I was driving to Washington to play Babylon 5 or something of that nature. Washington, Peoria. Anyway.
All right. Shadow, since you did such a good job last week, and you already have the questions.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Say no more.
2x4 to the face. Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and get us kicked off with the questions of the night.
Okay, as you guys remember, last week we talked about, critical hits, and of course I had to go in on, how they all originated with Arduin, mostly because, I'm kind of doing stuff behind the scenes with the new Arduin. Shameless plug. Go check out Emperor's Choice. I did have one question left over from last week that we can meld into both. I'm going to use it to start this episode with Fumbles, but if you have an opinion on it with critical hits, feel free to go. And that's assuming that we've already discussed what your main system is that you use crits and or fumbles with, because most of us here, except me, obviously, your guys are mostly like Pathfinder 3 third edition guys, right? Jade, you're more of a index card RPG guy, but you have a lot of familiarity with the previous mentioned systems. Is that pretty much a fair assumption so far? Pathfinder third edition. Okay, so do the rules you guys use slow down combat, and is it really worth it to make the game more enjoyable? That'd be your crit or your fumble rules. And I'm going to start with Baron and go clockwise. Connell, Bruce, etc. Sorry, Kai, you're last, but I'll start with you next round of questions. I like to be fair. I know that sometimes you can end up having to wait like 15, 20 minutes for your turn, no matter whoever's at the tail end, and you can go make a sandwich and come back and still be waiting.
It's starting to sound like some of the tables I've been at.
Yeah. It's the inevitable. Unless we want to get a timer, ding, you got 2 minutes. Ding, you're still looking at 12 minutes, to get to your turn. And I don't think we want to do that because that just sounds awful. So Baron. Okay, go ahead, Kai.
No, I was going to make a joke of, so I waited 30 minutes for my turn. I step forward 5 feet. I make my 3 attack rolls. I hit. I've already rerolled my damage. I'm done. See y'all in 30 minutes, guys.
Right, and I don't know about you, but that doesn't really. That's not like, I don't know. Back in the old days, did it seem like it was all faster?
No. I'm going. It was that slow back in second. It was that slow in third. It was that slow in fifth. It's that slow in Pathfinder. It's that slow in everything. If it's combat, it's slow. And so yeah, see y'all in 30 minutes. I gotta go spray paint a model. See ya. Anyway,
So what was the question?
Yeah, no worries. I knew you were gonna need it. Do these rules slow down combat? Obviously they do. And is it really worth it to go through all the rigmarole to make it more enjoyable? That being or fumble. You think so?
Oh yeah. Because when you have, and someone, when we were talking about this we have a Facebook chat with a bunch of us that are in different games and all that, but we've been friends for years. Between myself and Jay, we mentioned what we were doing this week, and we were talking about critical fumbles, and one of the gentlemen made sure to make sure that we mentioned, but isn't it more fun when you when you accidentally let go of both hands of the spike chain as you're trying to attack? Because that is just all kinds of fun. I'm sorry, because it affects the actual players, but it also humanizes them. Because when you're in a fight, you're not going to have lock gauntlets. Your fighter's not always going to have those lock gauntlets. You're sitting there hacking through people, and then all of a sudden, there's going to be fluid, whether it be red or sweat or whatever, that gets into your hands, and it's a possibility you're going to lose your grip on that sword or on that bow staff or on that quarterstaff. It's going to happen, and I think it brings more of the element of, oh crap, I dropped a thing. Oh well, guess what? You have no weapon. Uh-oh. So it also makes the players have to think. They may have already had their idea of what was going to happen. It's usually when there is a battle or something like that. It's kind of when you're going through the initiative or however you've got it set up, counterclockwise, whatever. But it's always like rinse and repeat every round. It gives a little variation, which also gives flavor to the game. And you can actually use this to go through and actually have it to where, well, after they get done with that fight, maybe I need to do a little bit more training to make sure that I don't drop that weapon next time. You know, it can help build the story behind that character. Oh, well, my dad died because he dropped his sword. I swear I'll never do it. I swear. And you know, and that's the thing, is that that's the big thing there is adding that flavor. It's kind of like the flavor text to any great story. And I'm going to be quiet now.
All right. How about you, Connell?
Well, what can I say after that kind of an answer? Wait, how did you word the question again?
Do you think fumbles or crits slow down the combat, and does it make the game more enjoyable?
I think combat slows down combat. I don't think crits or failures have anything to do with it. They are just aspects of the situation. Combat slows combat down. Now, do they add stuff to the game? Yes. Oh my goodness. It's a hard fight. These guys have been doing it for at least an hour, and it's at the end of it, and you're expecting to roll that nat 20 or whatever to get the last hit to put the bad guy down. Well, guess what? You rolled a nat 1. Or vice versa. The bad guy is just beating the dog shit out of you, right? And you have a Jaide moment, and you roll 1 right when you don't need to. So therefore, the characters got the reprieve because of a fumble, and because of the fumble, it depends on the system. How is it treated? Did he accidentally lop his fingers off? Did his weapon break? It's the unknown chaos that it brings to the campaign that makes it worth it.
Okay. And Bruce?
I'm not really going to worry about if it slows down combat or not. If it turns into a roll to where you rolled a 1, okay, well, we're playing that game. I need you to confirm your critical fumble. Combat slows down by 30 seconds. Okay, well, you missed. So you actually do have a critical fumble that pops up. And because you're in melee, you completely do something. You must have given yourself an ear spoon. You're deafened until somebody manages to heal you up. Or say somebody's got an attack spell. These are good if you need to use something that just gives you something different than you hit, you miss, you hit, you miss. And most DMs do not use you hit, you missed, you hit, you missed, you hit. Most DMs flavor it up already, but this gives it like extra steps because you failed so miserably. You rolled a 1 in 4,000 chance. Congrats. Or a 1 in 400 versus maybe you rolled a 1 in 8,000. You did triple 1 on a D20 roll. Good job. So you have these options here. Somebody's using a range attack like Connell. He misses completely. He provoked attacks of opportunity from all threatening foes. Now that would probably not really do much because he usually tries to keep away from bad guys, but still that would happen in a game. Oh no, this card right here, say if somebody was casting a spell and they completely screwed up the casting, they take a point of wisdom bleed, which means that they start hemorrhaging. They're losing a point of wisdom every round. And that doesn't take a whole lot of time for you to do that, for you to just tell people, like, you've got a bigger problem. And that should be about all the time that you need to say it. Maybe an extra 30 seconds. I like it.
All right. Jaide?
So the question is whether or not the critical hit or fumble adds additional time to already lengthy combat. And D&D 3.5 there's no bones about it. It's already fairly lengthy combat. That's the joke, the running joke, and continuously running joke is that a 3-day trek through the woods takes 5 minutes, whereas a 18-second combat takes 10 hours. So does it add time to the game or time to the combat? Yes, it can. If you do special or weird mechanics for criticals, yes, it can definitely hamper the amount of time that your combat is taking. It could lengthen it. However, it could, in the forms of critical hit, it could also shorten the combat. You can also shorten the form of combat with critical fumbles. It's based upon what the outcome is. So if the outcome for a critical hit against a foe is, excessive damage and they fail their save for massive damage, combat's over. You defeated that foe. If, for example, the players crit fumble, if one of the players crit fumbles themselves and they end up tripping into a spiked pit with, I don't know, black pudding at the bottom of it, they're done for. Like that character is done. That also shortens combat because there's one less turn in the turn order. So there are, there are ways of lengthening it and shortening it, depending on what the outcome is. For Index Card RPG, standard is you just add a D12 to the roll and move on for critical hits. For critical fumbles, it gets a little, less complicated. There really isn't much you do with a critical fumble. So far as I could tell, there really is no critical fumbles in Index Card RPG. Why punish someone who's already not taking an action at that point? I personally like the idea of adding either a curse or status effect to the player. In my homebrewed games, in my homebrewed table, a critical fumble meant you opened yourself up to an attack of opportunity. That was it. That was the end of it. Is I get a free attack and it uses my attack of opportunity. Instead of you moving and provoking the attack of opportunity, or someone doing something or the archer firing in melee provoking the attack of opportunity. No, you're not one provoked to the attack of opportunity because you reached out and opened yourself up to attack. That's kind of how I ruled it. And there's been a lot of gameplay where that was the case. Did it lengthen combat? A little bit, by one roll, maybe two. But overall, like, the combats were already lengthy anyway, so I didn't really see any benefit or sacrifice to having it.
All right. How about you, Kai?
Not really. Doesn't add or take away from it. Add or take away from time because, again, my players end up wanting to do crazy custom things with every round anyway because they don't want to sit there and do mechanical I attack.
Whack-a-mole?
Yeah, they don't want to play whack-a-mole. They don't play for pure mechanical. If we want pure mechanical, we play Warhammer 40K and we just sit there and play war games and BattleTech. If we just want to sit there and even then we put flavor into it. So we're already asking, hey, can I do this X complication to it and X and Y so that way I get Z effect. So I'm already complicating the game. So therefore, a fumble is just rather than here's the cool result of your action. Here's a complication, and all I usually end up doing is going, hey, you fumbled. Rather than drop sword or problems, it's like now you cause structural damage to the area around you. Because pillars get broken. Terrain deforms, and bad things happen, and it just kind of rolls out from there. Because I rather have it the high velocity, the archer Sarah misses, fumbles, and Nelson, oh, you actually knocked a load bearing marshmallow loose in the dungeon room, and now parts are the ceiling's having problems, or because that tends to happen, or you break part of the wall and damage it. It's just a little bit of extra detail, and we move on with our lives. So cool.
So I'm gathering none of you guys actually use. I know you guys use the cards For me, because I was in a game just Tuesday where anytime there's a crit or a fumble, the GM is, rolling on a table to see the gory results of it. Stabbed in the eye, fingers cut off, toes cut off, things like that. Stabbed through the lung, as per Bloodworth's game last night. You guys haven't checked out that video he did of our game. It was a lot of fun. But you guys don't use any of those kind of charts to see exactly what happened, because I've noticed, that's why I asked, that even if you have the chart right there opened in the book for the combat, rolling up and then describing and explaining what happened, the result of the wound or the fumble, because I've seen things like people hit themselves in the head with their weapon. I've seen a guy, I think I saw a guy cut out his own tongue once. Just all kinds of crazy results. Go ahead, Kai.
No, keep talking. I'll jump in on this when you're done talking. So
okay. So I guess none of you guys use any of those charts where it gets really specific with the result of the fumble or the critical.
It depends on the system. Now, if I'm playing a either Warhammer Fantasy or Warhammer 40K, they have those charts built into the back of the actual book, and your location of where you hit is always the reverse of the die that you throw.
Right.
So, for instance,
makes it a little faster, but
yes.
But does the storytelling aspect and the descriptions and the GM's, ruling on what's going to happen because of that, does that play a big enough part to where it slows the game down, or do you really get into the gory details? Because I know I was in a game where the character rolled a crit, but the regular damage was more than enough to kill the monster. But the entire party is like, roll the crit. We want to see what happened. How did you slay the monster? Specifically down to the gory details. Where did the sword land? That's that sort of thing.
Oh, on something along those lines, if it is like in a regular, either like a D&D or Pathfinder or that type of
Arduin.
Or yeah, and even I'll even do this with WOD games also, World of Darkness. Explain to me how you perform the attack. And based on how they explain how they perform the attack, I will come back and say, well, as you came down, slicing the sword, you wound up, splining him, and he falls in two. And you can go into as much detail as Jay's laughing his butt off at splining. That's just for him. But that's the thing, is that as GMs, we have to it's a give and take. They have to give us something to be able to build that story upon. And even what you can do with those is those great criticals that can become part of their legend. Oh, he slew the Naga by jumping and cutting her in half from the shoulder down to her hip and making her fall to pieces. Not only in love with him, but in death. If there's a bard with him, a bard's always going to be coming up with, this is going to be a good song to write about with the way what you just did. And it adds to
it. There's games that use percentile dice quite a bit. One of my favorites would be FRP, Warhammer, and various critical hits and fumbles actually go onto a specific chart for those. Another great game that people might have forgotten about, but you should not, is Rollmaster, which has its own book of criticals and hits called Weapons Law. And for those of you that like a little bit of spells in your combat, There's spell law, which is again masterful because you roll your dice and then you cross-reference. What did I do, Jim? And Jim will read it to you, or the GM will read exactly like what happens with your percentile dice and your modifiers. It's perfect.
I don't use charts. I haven't actually ever really seen one. That's not true. I have seen them, but running a fifth edition or Pathfinder, I mean, yeah, I can use the cards for the crits, but for Pathfinder, and I can do it fifth edition. But I also like, somebody rolls a nat one and they confirm it. Sometimes those cards are amazing, or charts can be amazing, but sometimes the best, result of that roll is something that's actually organic. It's already happening in game. You went to do a side swing on it, and you accidentally hit your cleric. I need the cleric. What's the cleric AC? AC, and it goes from there. So
I like that because I've noticed that with many crit tables, there could be a ridiculous result, and the GM will still, use it. You hit the guy, in the back of the head. Well, I'm a hobbit. How the hell did I do that? Stuff like that, where the die roll on the chart result just does not match the circumstance, and would you be inclined to re-roll that because it just doesn't fit?
Yeah.
I don't know who that question was directed towards, but I'll jump on
everybody.
On that
if you use a chart like that, would you be inclined to just go, tell them what the result is and go, yeah, that don't work. Let's do that again.
No,
result.
I don't like the concept of re-rolling. Re-rolling is like treasure. When you roll up treasure on a random chart, yeah, that's cool, but the party doesn't, shouldn't have a +5 ... So yeah, you should re-roll and things like that.
Yeah, I totally disagree with that.
But hold on.
I mean, if you're gonna randomly roll treasure, that's like the gods.
It's got to be random.
Telling you. That's the gods telling
you. You roll third level
your plan.
No.
Okay, first off, Connell, I'm gonna stop you there. If you got a third level,
I'm rethinking that statement.
I was gonna say, if you got a third level party and you roll up +5 weapon, you're doing something wrong. You're looking at the wrong charts.
Yeah, the CR. There's a CR. You're supposed to type in the CR. Yeah, as soon as I said that, I'm like, wait.
You don't even have to type in the CR. You just, you take the equivalent challenge that they fought. The monsters will tell you what kind of treasure they carry. Typically, it's in most of the books.
Sounds like so much not fun.
Roll on chart
standard
A,
treasure.
roll on chart C.
Right, roll chart A, roll chart B.
If you rolled over a 70 to
like
chart
whatever the case
A.
might be. Now I know there are game masters out there who don't follow those charts, but we're kind of getting off the path of critical hits and fumbles here.
Sure. What I'm saying is no, I do not. I guess that's why I don't use charts, because if it just seems so far beyond the weeds, it's like in the next county of possibilities, then no, I'm not going to use it. But I don't want to re-roll, because all you're doing is building up. Well, that might not necessarily be a bad thing. Building up tensions at the table. Oh my God, what's it going to be? Sorry, I don't like that one. Sorry, don't like that one. Sorry. I kind of like this one.
I think with percentiles, it's really easy is to just invert it real quick in your mind and go, oh, you got this. And so you get 2 possibilities out of a percentile roll.
Oh, okay.
The best, as far as me, the absolute best critical failure and critical hit that added to my character's non-combat story all happened in the same combat. So I was playing a monk who eventually went barbarian because he finally let into the rage, let the rage flow through him. And he became very headstrong and very combative. I was playing as this was when I was much younger, so I was very much a min-maxing McMurder hobo. So, I was started off as a monk, went barbarian, and I would not take no for an answer, and I would constantly force the combat because that's the character I was playing as also being a very young, dumb teenager. I crit fumbled. The open in, and this is actually where I picked up the if I crit fumble, the enemy, I'm opening myself up to the enemy's attack. That's actually my game master, Reese at the time, who instituted that, and I just kept going with it. But he critically hit me on my crit fumble. Did it suck? Oh, hell yeah. Did he realize what was happening? Yes. And then he's like, oh, should I not do this? I'm like, dude, you rolled it. Let's do it. You know, how bad could it possibly be? What I didn't know at the time was the character that he had was wielding an immortal slaying weapon. Like the weapon was designed to kill immortals and deities. I didn't know that. I thought I was still mortal. Apparently, somewhere we took the first step into divinity, and my character would have died if he was plain mortal, just from a scratch. But it left a bleeding wound on his face, one that would not seal, would not ever heal unless he went on some quest to get it healed by somebody who actually had the ability to do so. So in that one moment, my critical fumble led me into a critical attack that left me searching for the way to cure basically blindness in one eye. Was it a detriment to the game or to my play? Not greatly. Like, yes, there was some penalties that I had to deal with. My character couldn't see things coming from his left side ever. And once the enemies knew that, they would always come at me from the left side. It sucked. I couldn't hardly defend. It slackened my defense a bit, but I muddled through it. And, it led the party onto the quest of, okay, how do we cure this? This was an immortal slaying weapon. Somehow this person who we thought up until that point was mortal, just pure mortal, survived a scratch from something that should have ended him in an instant. One, what is happening to us? And two, what do we do next? Like, what is our next move? And it put the party in a position to go, okay, we're taking affirmative action. We know that there's something else going on. So now we need to go find out what's going on. And that's how the game progressed beyond level 20. That was actually the opening to epic level play for us in 3.5 was this encounter that could have easily killed any one of us if our characters were mortal. And it was honestly, it led to some of the best story and gameplay I've ever been involved in.
Okay. So I'm going to move into Baron's questions. Now, Kai, did you want to add something from a moment ago?
No, I'm good now. Don't worry.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna hit you first with the question, and then we'll go back to Jaide and do reverse order. Actually, yeah, reverse order because Baron was first. Okay. Kai, what are some ways to make critical fumbles? Okay, hold on. What's the difference between a fumble and a critical fumble and a critical? With me, it's crit and fumble that you don't need the critical in front of it. That always throws me. Is there something like a regular fumble and a critical fumble, or is it just a way to make the fumble sound more, horrific?
Honestly, at that point, I kind of go with the idea that fumbling is fumbling. Critical just sounds like it makes it more dire sounding. It's like, oh, it's all scary.
No,
sounding.
I meant like critical fumbles. Is there such thing as a critical fumble versus just a fumble?
No,
That's throwing.
I mean, unless you're gonna go play like other games that have the idea of degrees of success, and at that point we're moving away from Dungeons and Dragons and moving towards games that are kind of like Warhammer Fantasy or Dark Heresy, where it's all about degrees of failure or degrees of success or multiples. And at that point, there's failure, and this is why I kind of like Pathfinder 2, where you have failure and then you have bad failure, or the wild die in West End games Star Wars, where you roll a 1, where not only are you taking away your highest die, but now things are going like complications begin to happen. That's actually where it's kind of more interesting. So really, I don't have I don't like the idea. Like there's just failure, and then there's the fumble or the critical fumble where there's just failing, and then there's failing with a complication. Because I also like the idea that you can also have a fumble and then have players not know what just went wrong. The idea that sorry, this isn't. Is this even close to the actual question? I'm sorry if I'm going off in a tangent. I'll shut up.
No. Because for me, there was just criticals and fumbles. That's it. You either hit, you miss, crit, or fumble. So for brevity, I'm just going to go with fumble, so that because I was just trying to understand if there was something I was missing.
No, honestly, all you're looking at here is just degree of success. We played a very binary game. Like most of the gaming that we play is very binary. You either succeed or you fail, or you succeed fantastically, 20, or you succeid miserably. Sorry, or you fail miserably, 1. Because God, we can't ever have a game that has degrees of success, because that might be our board gaming binary win-lose situation.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to just go with fumbles from here on out.
Yeah. So
I'm going to repeat the question for you. What are some ways to make fumbles feel more impactful and exciting in tabletop role-playing games? And how can game masters and players use these moments to heighten tension and create memorable experiences for the players?
So I'll just say what I was going to say. Don't let players know what went wrong. If a fumble happens, just go, no, something happened. And if your players forget that, because when you're playing, if a belt strap broke, would you know it? If you're playing a sci-fi game, like if you're playing an action adventure, vehicle-based game, would you know if the tie rod broke? You probably would, but would you know immediately? What was that?
I get what you're going at. I haven't actually heard that before. That's actually kind of a genius idea.
Because I actually had a campaign where we had something go. We were playing a space sci-fi game, and we took damage, and the GM made us roll for roll. I usually am playing the engineer and damage control. Well, I'm like, well, shit, what went wrong? Hey, what's the damage report? Try to roll up, my ability, my skill. I fumbled the check. I couldn't. I knew there was damage. I could tell, what frames were wrecked. I can tell there's fire, but I can't tell you what broke. But so it took. So we had to go and things kept on. Cascadingly went wrong because we couldn't identify what went wrong, and the GM knows he was running it out, and things like the cascading problem kept on going, and eventually we had it forced a complication where suddenly now those of us who are not playing, I am playing guy who makes the ship dodge everything, and guys who shoot everything have all the fun. Suddenly that now made us who are playing damage control, I'm running around trying to, put out the fires, trying to isolate what's wrecked so we can get it fixed as fast as possible. Suddenly we had jobs, or we also had another one where we had where someone got hurt bad, and similar game, same campaign, someone got hurt bad, and the doctor fumbled, and yeah, he couldn't figure it complicated the medical checks to be able to patch that player back up, and he came that other player came damn close to dying because the doctor fucked up. Well, it was a high situation. He fumbled. Well, shit, things went wrong. Complications happened, and it wasn't just simply you failed, he died. No, it upped the tension. It made things more interesting. When when somebody rolled a wild die complication, we had problems where sensors glitching, communications weren't running right. God, communications never worked right. Shit kept breaking because things just went wrong, because that's just it. It made things better. And other games were similar GMs here, where straps on your backpack, like, because nobody, everybody's going in with their full backpacks, because nobody has an idea how to do a battle pack. Your battle pack where you dump most of your sleeping gear and go in light, but no, everyone's going in with their full adventuring pack. 80 pounds of kit going into a sword fight, and it's like suddenly fumbles happen. Like, oh, did you drop your sword? Oh, heck no! No, on your A-frame, I two of the buckles popped because that's 80 pounds of shit swinging around back there, asshole. What? Snap, snap. Oh, yeah. You need to figure out how you're gonna fix that, or dump your pack, and it caused interesting complications rather than just simply your bow destrung. Oh, you threw your sword. Yeah, hit the guy next to you. You rolled on a table and somehow stabbed your tongue with a great axe. I don't know how you do this shit, guys, but you did it. I mean, trying to figure out interesting little defects and things that just go wear and tear that happens through just adventuring. That's how we made our things more interesting, because, well, these are just things that happen. How most of us who've done any kind of reenactment will tell shit breaks. Holy fuck, does shit break?
Been in the field,
yeah,
for other reasons.
Yeah,
shit
anyone has
breaks
gone out
all
there and
the time, especially when it's manufactured by the lowest bidder.
Right, and shit breaks. Those ones are shit breaks. Shit popped. You lost something. I mean, hell, we've had ones, the failures in ones being, well, you swung badly, and suddenly something that was in your kit falls out of your pocket because, well, fuck the complications. And hey, anyone see my canteen? Hey, where's my sharpening stone? Did anyone see where I packed that? Fun little things that just fun little malfunctions and defects. And of course, this is all things that your GM writes down. It goes, no, you're sure you had it. Yeah, it's around here somewhere. Fuck.
Which can cascade to yet further failures or mishaps from one piece of equipment.
Rations going missing, spell components disappearing, first aid kit losing vital components. Little things that if you don't sit down and do this thing called, hey, after the fight, I'm checking through my stuff, making sure I still have it all, and then going back and looking around in that big bloody battlefield that it's covered in corpses now, and finding your stuff you dropped, or doing repairs. While everybody's sitting here, while the cleric is sitting here putting band-aids on everybody, you're sitting here checking your gear, going, okay, everything still seems to be here. All right, I'm good to go. And or after the fight where you're running through the ship going, okay, what broke? And you're sitting here with duct tape trying to get everything back together until you got time to do a real job on it. And or a rock, 16 zip ties and a bunch of super glue and some patch tape to go fix the tire that's currently got a bullet hole in it. But you need to make it 14 miles back home. So you're gonna shove that rock in, put the rubber cement and a bunch of patches and zip ties on it. That'll hold, I hope. But you're doing your botch jobs, your repairs, make things work.
Jury rigging.
Yes, and it should be that way. When you come back, it should look like hell went wrong. And that's honestly in my opinion, how to make fumbles far more interesting than just simply, I get out my deck of cards and you stabbed yourself for a D4 damage. No.
I'm stealing that, by the way.
Go right ahead. Steal all you want. Demi-cord everything. You're right.
We don't make
Bob. Okay.
Anyway, next person up, they can have their fun.
That would be Jade. Jade, do you need me to read the question again?
Probably. I think I know what it is, but
Okay. What are some ways to make fumbles feel more impactful and exciting in your role-playing games? And how can game masters and players use these moments to heighten tension and create memorable experiences for the players?
so critical failure. So you have failure, you've got critical failure. Failure is just missing. Critical failure or fumble is the other word. How to make it more interesting? Well, I mean, I kind of expounded upon that a little bit with the story of how my character suffered an immortal wound. And that led to the party trying to figure out, first off, who was it that we were attacking, or rather, at best, we fought them. They didn't fight us. We tried to fight them, and it didn't go well. So we were trying to figure out, who they were, what they were doing, why they had a weapon that could kill gods, and why I wasn't dead. That made the game exceptionally interesting past level 20, and 3.5. So we were already pretty powerful beings just by mechanics and numbers. This was actually before all the splat books and all the complete guides were printed. This was way back, like 2002 timeframe. And it was just the game master. I would love to sit at that guy's table anytime in the future if he'd have me. But, he made things interesting at all times. So anytime somebody rolled a nat 20, it wasn't just, okay, roll to confirm. It's like, oh, okay, you hit, but here's what's going to happen to the enemy, with that hit. You didn't add extra damage. I mean, he did the standard multiplicative damage. Like if your weapon was a ×2, okay, just did ×2 whatever you rolled plus your stats. But then he added hampering effects to the enemies. Or he, in the case of our paladin, the paladin was wielding a double weapon, and he's like, you know what? Attack again with the other side of the weapon. And the paladin's like, sure, okay, why not? He not only criticaled, he criticaled again on the opposite side. To which point the game master's like, you know what? Your paladin's display of just sheer, combat prowess is boosting everyone. Everyone gain a +1. As a morale bonus to this combat. That was really great for the critical side of things. Now, as far as the fumble side of things, he would commonly put us into kind of this tailspin. Once we started critically failing or fumbling, like we started getting to tailspin situations where things got intense because more and more penalties started stacking on us until we had to make the decision: do we stay or do we go? That whole song, should I stay or should I go now? Right. And oftentimes it was like, go ahead.
I was just trying to remember who sang that song. I thought it was The Clash at first, but it wasn't.
So every time we would, if I would critical fumble, which happens often, it's just something I do apparently. If I fumbled and then the next person also fumbled, it would start. We'd be, our side of the table would start getting hit with penalties, because everyone, all the characters in the room were so like, are we not as good as we thought we were? Like, are we not set? Are things really, are the gods really that against us? And it started driving doubt into our characters, which was a result of penalties to the rolls. It eventually got to the point where, hey guys, we need to cut and run because we're in a no-win situation and things are just getting more dire and more dangerous for us to stay. So we would often cut and run when we got caught into those tailspins, because it wasn't worth ending the character to stick it out. We would run away, and then we would come back and with a new plan, knowing what the enemy's capabilities were, we would formulate a new plan and go in fresh. And it really drove the point of not every confrontation needs to be beaten down. Sometimes it is better to run away. Something I've been struggle bussing with several of my youngest players that I've had at my table of like, oh no, if it's on the board, it's meant to be killed. Even the NPC. Are you sure about that? Yes, I'm sure about that. You're gonna kill the king? Yeah, I'm gonna kill the king. Let me know how that goes. So yeah, to me, critical fumbles. If things are not going well, maybe it's time to for the party to reassess and come back at the situation fresh.
Nice, Bruce. What say ye?
Critical fumbles have a chance for you to have a new direction for your campaign. I don't recommend you do this every time you're running a combat where you have some new and exciting, instead of like just the regular combat ending and you're victorious, get your experience points and treasure. And that's for any RPG right there. That should, but a critical fumble in like the old Star Wars D6, the example they used in the book was you rolled a 1 on your wild die. You made your piloting roll, so it's not a critical fumble, it's a fumble. And yeah, you made your piloting check, but you rack the ship up against a steel girder as you're plummeting through the star or through the Death Star, and you lose your radar dish. That was because I rolled a 1 on the wild die. And that's just a fumble. Not too terrible. Your communication array is kind of messed up for a while. No more radar dish. And it was a good way for you to have that. Now, not every roll of a natural 1 on whatever die you're using has to be a critical fumble. It just has to be something that for you as a DM, you throw something at a player and makes them think that the routine is interrupted. It doesn't mean that, the fire giantess is going to get you a complete smackdown next round that she has for combat. It just means that it might make it to where the ground you're standing on has become very brittle, and now you're having to roll balance checks or acrobatic checks to not fall on your ass every time she smashes the ground with a sword where you were once standing. Yeah, you're dodging just fine, but now the ground around you does not feel so stable. And if you're a dwarf, now you're in 5th edition terms, you are completely at disadvantage.
Anything else there, Bruce? You
got 5 people on here, and it feels like I was the last person you asked that question to. So I don't want to rehash the things that I said,
Okay.
But I value that. But the thing is that I don't want to draw out the questions because there's a lot of questions. I don't even think we did all the questions last session for Critical Hit.
Nope.
So
the last one was I think the only one I missed, but hopefully it looks like we still have time to get to all the rest. But maybe not. So okay, Connell.
Yes.
What are some ways to make fumbles feel more impactful and exciting in your games? And how can the game masters and players use these moments to heighten tension and create memorable experiences for the players?
I had a boxing coach earlier in my life when I was boxing that said every punch was a lesson. Not the punch that you threw, but the punch that the punch that you took was a lesson. I kind of look at fumbles the same way as, oh no, it's going to end the game. Like, no, this is just another lesson on how shit can happen. And you just won the lottery for this time. I think, as I said before, each fumble, if you're not going off a chart, should be organic to the situation they're in. Not all fumbles happen. Granted, they got away from crit fails and fumbles when it comes to skills, but doesn't mean if a person rolls a nat one on a skill for the games that have skills, you shouldn't treat it as a fumble, because you got one guy who's like, well, the DC is let's say 15. He rolled a 1 plus his stats, so let's say he got a 5 altogether. So on my perception, I rolled a 5. What do I see? You see your hands, because you are so curious about where that stain came from or whatever. Because obviously you're not paying attention to what's going on around you if that's your roll.
Okay.
I used to say I rolled a 1 on a perception. What do I see? You see snow. Somebody rolls low. Another one rolls low. What do you see? You see Jon Snow. It just or penguins. So it's just keeping it interesting in a way that the players kind of get it, because fumbles do happen. Crits happen. It's part of the game. But if you can make them organically work for the situation at hand, they go over better. And sometimes they do, bring a chuckle to the game, or some other thing that the player might have missed. Hey, I'm an archer. I rolled a nat 1. Well, the guy next to you gets to swing at you. Wait, why do I have a guy next to me? I'm supposed to be at range. Right, you're supposed to be at range. What the hell were you thinking running up with the barbarian? So that's what I have to say on it.
Okay, Baron, what do you got to say on this one? When you unmute yourself.
Give me that question one more time. I apologize.
One more time.
Okay.
One more again.
One more time.
What are some ways to make fumbles feel more impactful and exciting in your games, and how can game masters and players use these moments to heighten tension and create memorable experience for the players?
Well, I mean, I kind of touched on this earlier. It brings a new level of gameplay into it where, consequences happen. When, like I said, when you're sitting there, you've got your long sword and you're just kind of wading through battle and, oh no, my sword, wait, where'd it go? And then the dwarf looks at the human and goes, don't tell the elf. It's just little things like that. And, I mean, it can wind up being, a way for them to, little things, because people who are in those type of situations, especially anyone who is a veteran, knows that, some people do stupid things and you never let them forget it. And it's not because you're being a total ass about it. It's because you're good enough friends and comrades that you can get away with it. So, I mean, that's just the thing. It's not, necessarily make animosity, but it's something to kind of bring everything together. And, the bard, it's kind of like a bard that rolls really poorly. You go, well, I'm glad that's over. And, it's just like, I'm never coming to this town again. And don't you guys ever bring him back here. That type of thing, because, his perform rolls were just horrendous. Now, naturally, you can't, fumble a performance roll, but you can roll pretty bad where it is remembered. No, Kai,
I
you cannot critically fumble a bardic performance.
You rolled a 1. It's not a critical failure. You're just going to have an unfortunate consequence. That's all.
Exactly. That's why he will never go back to that town.
Elle asks a good question. Elle asks, does every crit need to be memorable?
The hell?
No, it doesn't. But the thing is that, it doesn't necessarily need to be memorable. but it can make the game more fun. It can
That's
bring
why I was
you in.
asking. That's why I was asking about the charts, because in the old days, and even in, I believe, Castles and Crusades, the crit, when you roll okay, you've got a crit. Now you roll on the table. Now, depending on the roll of the table determines the effect. Now, that effect might not be memorable, but because you cut off the guy's head, maybe that's going to be memorable. How often do you actually get to do that? Kai?
I'm against charts mostly because of the fact that it takes away some of the actual organic energy from it. So it's kind of like when you have the players who go hit location. Well, I rolled crotch. Well, suddenly every attack becomes a dick hit, and because there's no other creativity to anywhere else that's in that part of the body. So therefore, when you just go crit hit or awesome crit or fumble, and then you go to the chart, and then something that makes no fucking sense happens. It's like, because again, you cut your tongue off. How? And
you're making a point I've wanted to make since last week. Believe it or not, even though I love Arduin, I'm not actually a fan of the chart. Connell's given me, basically the my answer as well. It should be dependent. If your damage isn't enough to kill the guy, then for the most part, unless you're going to use hit locations on every attack, and there are games like that, then you're really just whittling down hit points, and he's not dead until he's dead. So it doesn't matter. He's still swinging. So you cut off his beard, or you took out an eye. Can he still swing? Is he still attacking? Does he still have hit points? More to the point. And if he does, it's really like the last hit that matters. You know what I mean? Or if you did something like, maybe I suppose if you cut off one of his hands and there goes his sword, okay, well, he's got lots of hit points left, but he can't really do a whole lot. So, there's got to be like a fine line or balance between, it's just extra damage, or it's something so, game changing at that moment that it would in fact become, not only memorable, but like I said, game changing. It's suddenly, the combat is not going the way the other guy, whoever, is in the negative, expected, which, we could, never mind. How do you deal with that, to make it feel more realistic? Because, two guys enter the ring, only one's coming out, doesn't mean, the odds-on winner is going to be the winner. Stuff happens. Sometimes somebody sees an opening, takes it, and lays the guy out, first round, and a whole bunch of people are irritated and lost a lot of money.
Shadow,
Yo,
there is one thing I do want to say about critical fumbles that it just hit me as we were in wrapping up Garrett's side of this. What would it be like if there was somebody that rolled a critical fumble and the DM, probably thinking ahead of the game, says, okay, so Tommy, you're illuminating the path. Jane is over here and she's trying to cast her spell, but she rolls a natural 1 on her touch attack roll. Jane, roll again. And she really fouls up. But seeing that these two characters are basically shoulder to shoulder in combat with each other against the masses, David, you have the chance to, if you could just roll me a real quick reflex save, or if you could just roll me a real quick skill check to catch Jane from tumbling towards the goblins. If you could just roll your target number, blah, 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 blah. And it's an opportunity for you to just throw something out there to where you're using the party teamwork, their cohesion, their position, their tactics, to where they're preventing each other from losing your weapons. Your buddy knocks your sword down before you decide to throw it to the frost giant so he can beat you to death with it, and things of that nature. It's an opportunity to where, just like if you have players that they form a shield wall up against their foes, they might have a chance to where, if you really screw the pooch on this, your shield mate is going to probably try to save your bacon before you completely render our shield wall completely screwed. And that's something I would throw out there.
I'm actually torn between two different opinions on that. One, maybe that should be the players trying to get a quick save on something. Like the something just went south. Is there something I can do to keep it from going as south as it can go? Versus only a really skilled DM would think like that to add that, because maybe he or she knows that their players are just not thinking like that. They're not firing on all 8 cylinders, so to speak, and they're like just taking every punch without trying to roll with them, so to speak. So I'm gonna save that for later, because I want to think about that. That's actually a lot of food for thought.
Okay.
I'm going to start with Connell on the next question. Connell?
Yep.
You got your ears on? Got your ears on? Okay. How can game masters and players balance the power and impact of fumbles in a way that feels fair and engaging for all participants without making them too overpowered or too rare?
Well, once again, there's a mistake in the sentence. Believing in balance. It is a false god, as somebody in this panel has said. There's no way to balance that out. You got 5 people at the table. You're the 6. All right. So 5 against you, or not so much against you, because that's not how the game should be played. It's you're here to tell a epic whatever. They're here to take part of the epic whatever, it being fantasy, sci-fi, whatever. They're here as a, right? So they're going to hit some bad notes, and you're going to hit some bad notes. Right when you needed that nat 20 to put poor Timmy the Bard in his place, you don't get it. When they need to roll something higher than a 15 to take out wherever they're fighting, but they just don't get it. There is no balance to this. It is a very much pick up dice, hope for good shit to happen. So I don't know if there is a way to answer this question other than there is no such thing as balance. When they get a fumble, when you roll a fumble, make sure everybody knows you roll a fumble. Be honest about it. Because if you're honest about it, they'll be honest about it. Shut up, Jaide. I got better over the years.
What about the rare aspect, Donald?
The rare
aspect. Do you think they should be rare? Do you think there's a way to make them less rare, or less or more overpowered?
I think it is what it is. You step in the boxing ring, eventually you're going to get tagged sooner or later, and one of those tags might be the one to put you out. It's not a rare thing. It's just a matter of a percentage chance. You got 5 players rolling 5 d20s. Eventually, one of them is going to roll nat 20 or nat 1. It's just probability at that point.
Okay.
I mean, even you said before on other episodes of this and other places that the amount of the dice that the DM rolls compare to what the players roll is astronomically different, because as a DM, you're already going to be rolling more for the NPCs, for the bad guys, for the weather, for whatever else. So the likelihood of you rolling 20s and 1s is a lot higher than the players are, because you have to roll more.
Yeah, like 10 to 1 times more, in my opinion. My math could be off, but I mean, mind you, of course, I play a different game for the most part where, a first level party can run into 10 or 20 goblins, and there's only 4 characters, and they actually stand a better chance of making it out alive. But if you throw a crit or a fumble table in there, or chances where it's just like in the old days of 1 in 20, no backing it up, then the players are going to get smoked as soon as you add that crit or fumble.
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. What if you have a DM?
When you don't have to back it up versus 20 goblins? The scenario I just stated, which is very common, 4 characters versus 20 goblins or 20 kobolds, the players would win against them, but if you throw in the crit or fumbles, it changes everything. Without having to back up the crit or fumble.
Right, and I understand what you're saying, but it also depends on who the person is rolling is. If a person who is, and I'm not trying to throw anybody, particularly Jaide, underneath the bus on this one, but I've seen it for myself. There's videos where you get DM. Hold on, there's videos out there where you have DMs that rolled nat 20s 3 times in a row. Hell, and you have other DMs that can't get over a 15 if his life depended on it. I was
in a playtest situation where the GM could not get a break. It was pretty brutal, but it was a playtest session, and it was actually very helpful. But it was also incredibly humorous.
You always have to add in my opinion, you always have to add in the human factor to all of this, because the human factor is not necessarily going to determine what the roles are going to look like, but they kind of, you know who you're dealing with.
Do you know who you're dealing with? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Bruce.
All right.
How can the GM and I'm gonna reread it. How can the GM and players balance the power and impact of fumbles in a way that feels fair and engaging for all participants without making them too overpowered or too rare?
All right. Like Connell, I believe that the balance is a false god, a deity that's been brought about since the invention of the shitty idea of challenge rating, and we need to abolish the thought of having level appropriate challenges.
Yeah, that's I think there's a time and a place for a little bit of that, especially in the old school method of, if you go into this dungeon, it's going to be a challenge, but it's not going to be a total party kill in the first room. You know what I mean? Otherwise, you drew up that dungeon and you just ended your own game. The players don't have to go in the dungeon, but if they do, and you kind of lured them in there, you should kind of have a little bit of at least a snowball's chance of making it in and out alive. Otherwise, you wasted everybody's time. Kai, you wanted to say something?
If I put a big giant neon sign saying this is Cobra Island, this is the headquarters of the big bad evil terrorist organization bent on world conquest, and you as adventurers go, we're walking in there, yeah, I'm going to probably kill you in the front door. That's
part of what I was saying is, in the old days, there would be, here be dragons, you're not ready, but here is the dungeon right next to the town you grew up in, and all of the plot hooks are kind of gearing you toward it. You know what I'm saying? You should be able to, at least one of you make it in and out alive.
Oh, yeah. Now, mind you, I'm also going to have, Baby's First Dungeon over here. And you'll know where Baby's First Dungeon is. And you're going to go out and have your adventure land. But again, if you guys go, but wait, we're fighting the evil bad guys. We should go to Fortress Bad Guy over there and knock out the ultimate evil. And I'm like, sorry, the Great Tower of Barad-dûr exists. Please don't go there. But that's where the bad guy is. No,
Hey,
no, don't go there.
Do
What?
in third edition of Pathfinder and stuff like that, do the characters have like titles by level? You know,
No.
like in AD&D in second, there'd be like a title. You're a rogue, a cut purse, etc.
That's only a first edition thing, dude.
Oh, okay, okay.
And
Because that was a real helpful tool. You know, he's a champion or a superhero or whatever the titles were. Well, I'm just a veteran, so I'm not going to go mess with this guy because he's like 7 levels higher than me. It was a helpful tool. Was it just curious if they still did that?
No, I really wish they would have that, but the idea there is that you should have enough common sense to look out there and go, that seems to be a level higher than us. Bad, give some time for people to actually, look around and see what's out there and to gauge if it's an actual threat. Hey, are we supposed to be here? And usually the first ballista bolt through the chest is a good indication that this is not a good place to be, and you go away. And you scare them, or you do the Fallout trick where you make sure the first attack misses. Oh man, I rolled bad, and they go, "Was that Oh, we should probably run away now." Yes, run away, because
There are also times where, like, say, if Kai's running Rapana Thuck, and if he's running it quote unquote by the book, after you explore the big cross-shaped indentation that is littered with graves, you find the mausoleum at the center of the cross, and the players are like, "Aha! I think this is it," and they pick the lock, and they go in there, and then without using the key to open the door, that arms the first trap, and then the players walk in, they shove the sarcophagus lid off to the side, they beat up a black skeleton. The black skeleton has a strength sapping hit, but if they beat it up, that's great. Then they all get in the sarcophagus, and they have the rogue find the lever to pull the lever and descend down. Well, instead of descending down into the dungeon, it gets stuck halfway, and the coffin fills up with poison gas. The sarcophagus lid slides over it. TPK. It actually is part of the book. And it's kind of a nice way for you to be able to tell people, if you can't find the secret key in the graveyard, probably not high enough level for this adventure. And that's where they tell you that. The first room in this dungeon, it's the world's biggest dungeon. Before 5th edition came out and bastardized it and ruined an entire module by having a piss poor conversion from 3.0 and 3.5 and Pathfinder to 5th edition, which now it's for fucking fluffy superheroes and fucking people with pink hair and fucking danger hair. It just goddamn no idea what an actual game is. Nope. They made a game that's completely beatable. Here you go. Here's your super easy to beat dungeon. It's a treadmill that makes you fatter. And if you run it right, preferably not in 5th edition, you could possibly kill the characters off in the first room.
So was that your answer to the question as well?
I want players to have a chance. They don't have to take the chance for success, but I want them to have a chance. And every opportunity, if it's a critical fumble, if it's a missed roll, if they fail, that shouldn't doom them to like horrible disfigurement, getting their arm hacked off, etc. If they're fighting goblins at first level, they have a chance to die. But there's also a great chance of possible success and maybe even more jobs in the future. I would prefer for the characters to not have critical fumbles, and the way that Pathfinder did it in 1st edition was you rolled your die, and if you came up with a 1 naturally, you rolled your die again, and if you would have missed on your secondary roll, like roll a 4. With all your bonuses, you did not hit. So that's now a critical fumble. that puts you in a position to where you should be at least a modest disadvantage that can be rectified. Like what I was discussing earlier with the characters lined up as a shield wall against an encroaching horde, it shouldn't provide a whole lot of headache, but just a quick 10-second challenge for another player to save their friend's ass. I think that's a modest payment for you got unlucky on 1 in 20 chance, and then you increased your odds and said, let me go for it. And you rolled again and you missed. You didn't critically miss with another natural one with a 1 out of 400 chance, but you missed, and therefore now you're going to quote unquote pay. And your friend, because it's a game based in teamwork, is going to help save your bacon. I would prefer if a game had that sort of option, but Pathfinder does not. Pathfinder lets you suffer things like, oops, sorry, guy. You use your attack damages you instead. Use your target's strength modifier. Or if you're doing a natural attack, you sneeze and you're dazed for a full round. Sorry, kid. Strain. Your melee attack does something, you pull muscle, and you take a d4 points of dexterity damage. These are pretty rough critical hits. I mean, these are things that might take more than just a cure light wounds to pick yourself up after the battle. They're a little bit more memorable than I would prefer. And in a D&D game or a 3.0 or a 3.5, and I know I'm kind of going back to that, in those sort of games, the players will roll far more fumbles than the DM will. They will have much more impact by rolling critical fumbles than random monster on the DM's table. The DM's monster doesn't give a shit. He's just an NPC. In 30 minutes, his existence in my life will be negligent. I don't give a fuck. But that player, if he has like a couple critical fumbles in combat, he might have a point where, by the end of the combat, he's got a goblin spear through his chest and he died of a sucking chest wound because he lost 4 points of dexterity and he was then later dazed and was trying to punch his way to get back on his feet. The goblin instead just took complete advantage of him and just railed the shit out of him, beat the hell out of him with a weapon, and left his corpse there and went to go beat up on the party mage. I think critical fumbles are something that you need to, as a DM, you need to rein them in if you're using a D20 base game, because if not, your entire game, your especially the opening levels, your risk of a TPK is really high based on the player's inability to roll at least a 15 or higher in a D20.
Kai, you wanted to add something?
I actually kind of forgot what I was going to say, but sorry. No. It's okay. I think because I remember now. I know we can. I know there's the rule of you can't critically fail a skill check, but I do like the complications thing. In that opening phase where you don't understand what you're going to be fighting, I definitely like the idea of having that complication, that failure, that failure to say perception to figure out what you're fighting. Because I'm sorry, you don't instantly get to be able to hit pause, mouse over the target icon, and see level, hit point, and CR rating of the monster of the encounter you're fighting. No, you just know it's a target. But in a if there's poor visibility and it's somebody who's just going hog wild, just trying to just maximize damage and hitting way above their, they're trying to look bigger than they're supposed to be, and having that terror moment of where it's like, yeah, they're really just a group of somebody's out there who's your group could probably, the bad guys or your group could probably smash the fuck out of them, but because of there was some cool crits, there was the opening hits were crits or way more damage than they should, and suddenly you're like going, oh no, wait, those guys are actually, awesome fighters out there or awesome characters. In short, have the last stand of the tin cans going on here, but in D&D form, where you have a bunch of people who are they shouldn't be doing this, charging battleships, going, no, we're going to go out there fucking swinging, and they're all going to die, but divert an entire group to go off somewhere. No, we don't want to fucking deal with this. Those are battleships and aircraft carriers out there. No, they're escorts and destroyers that we're all fucking going out. Fuck it, we're going, and having similar moments, in D&D where a bad, we're going to see, because it's certain engines they have there are checks to give you a approximate level of them. Like, are they of your level, a little higher, a little lower? But if you fail that check really badly, you can funnel them bad information, rather than saying, oh, they're all pushovers, and you walk into getting your butt kicked by gods, or misinterpret it, something like, oh shit, we're in way over our heads, and then have everyone run the fuck away because you had a heroic, that heroic last stand, and going out there and being scary, or at least trying to be scary, and suddenly you're like, oh no, those goblins, that's just the vanguard. We should probably get the fuck out of here before the rest of them show up, even though that was just the last goblins in the area. Have moments like that where a failed check actually causes, it's like, has the wild die effect from Star Wars, where it's just simply, it's not a fumble, but you misread something. Details happen. You got to make it more, make it so that way it's not simply you failed your check and you have no idea what's going on here. No, you're the gatekeeper. You're the GM. You're the gatekeeper of all knowledge and what they know and what they know and don't know. And if you got a player who goes, but I know. No, you don't know shit, Cat. Sorry. And just keep on. I keep on pushing through it. It's more fun that way, and you can actually have, player perception being modified. And hell, you can work it both ways. Sorry, that's just my idea there. So,
Bo Paints Minis says, who says you cannot critically fail a skill check? Well, Bo, I want to tell you about the story of a young Army second lieutenant that was given a compass and a map. And I think you probably know how this story ends. But I think that's the best example of a real life critical fail check for skills. I think there's other ways that I could have verbalized it, but I think that one's the one that always makes me laugh. He froze to death in the snow, and it just specifically
it's in reference to D&D 3.0 3.5, where a natural 1 on a skill check is not an automatic failure.
But you're correct. You're correct.
It's in the core rules.
That's written.
It is.
But I think that
I don't know anybody who follows it.
There is, well, no, the fact is that Grandma is talking in the chat about how they're trying to play smart, how they're trying to learn the area first. They're trying to do surveillance. They spend time to get to know the area before they start sticking their heads down holes in the ground to is there any first level bad guys in here? And they end up invariably, finding a whole family of owlbears that are ravenously hungry, and the entire party at second level dies. Oh, sorry, campaign over. Reroll new characters. Fuck this. We're gonna play Vampire the Masquerade. Fuck that. But they're playing smart, and that's the thing. At the table, with a skill check, even if you fail a skill check, that should provide you as a DM an opportunity for you to draw out their success by another half hour or maybe another game session. Because, well, I'm sorry, Cletus, but you have led the rest of your party, wee band of merry fuck-ups, out about maybe 3 hexes away from where you're supposed to be. What's the hex? Well, we're using the Frog God Games engine, which is about 50 miles per hex. You're on foot. I need you to, Cletus, do me a favor, roll your knowledge nature check and perception. You are the leader of this band, Mr. Second Lieutenant. I see bear. Looks like bear tracks. I rolled a 17 on my perception. I rolled a real high. I got an 18 on my knowledge nature. Yes, you do see bear tracks. It looks like an adult-sized black bear is in the area. Hey, guys, we might be able to eat. What are you doing? Oh, we're going to go follow the bear. We couldn't follow the map. We're going to go follow the bear tracks. God damn it. First level players. That's all I'm going to say. So I think that you should be able to use the die fumbles and decision-making fumbles as an opportunity as a DM to provide yourself, at least, maybe the players too, some quality entertainment. Because if you have somebody who's like a Cletus and a second level or a second lieutenant that doesn't quite understand maps and threat assessments and mother brown bear. No, you were right. It is a bear. It's not a black bear. It's a brown bear. And she's got her cubs close by. By the way, she's charging. How far away are you? I don't know. Roll me a d6 times 10. That's the amount of yards you're far away. I rolled a 1. You are 10 yards away. What's your initiative? I rolled the highest possible value. No. That's the worst possible value, sir. What? the game quickly could go into a very bad tailspin there, and that is not the fault of the dice. That is the fault of the player, and they've made the bad decisions throughout this entire ordeal. It's not just the fact that he couldn't read a map. It's the fact that when he read the map, when he started understanding what was around him, he did not start trying to back away. Let's not get near their bear den. You know, it's the month of August. They're still like in forage mood. They're going to go eat everything they can because they're going to hibernate. So everything to them is a calorie. I would not want to be involved with that. Shadow, you got to do shampoo commercials.
Dude, I'm never going to hear the end after Mages gave me that shout out, man.
Okay, that's all I want to say there.
Thanks, man. Jade, how about you, man? Need me to reread this one? Or are you following along on Discord?
No, and I'm gonna say pretty much the same thing everybody else said. Balance is a false god. Stop praying to it. Yeah, how do I make my critical failures balanced? I don't. I follow a lot of the things I learned from my first game master, Reese. He went off the cuff. He didn't really put a lot of stock into what the rules said about specific things. And this is a lesson I took way too long to learn, because when we were playing the game, I was focused on the game. But once I got my first set of core books, the first 3 books, the DMG, the Monster Manual of PHB, I read through the rules. I'm like, well, we're technically not doing it right. We're not following the rules of the game. And eventually, when that game that he was running, I withheld a lot of my judgment, a lot of my rules lawyering until after the game had ended. And then when I was running games, I was following the rules as laid out by WotC. Sure, brag on me if you want about, following the rules as written by WotC. But, that was the game that was affordable, that was in print at the time. So that's what I played. But as far as, what I do now, like if something interesting happens or if someone says, yeah, I'm gonna roll up to this guy and I'm gonna swing with an uppercutting, I'm aiming for the fences out in left field, swing with this guy, I'm like, okay, roll it. And if it rolls in that one, okay, well, I'm gonna go for what is interesting. What interests me on that crit failure. Oh no, you rolled a nat 1. Well, you wind up and managed to hit yourself in the back of the head just about as hard as you were trying to hit the person you're aiming for. Take a point of mental damage. I don't care which one. Pick one. You stumble around a bit. Get your bearings. And then I move on to the next person. Is it fair? I don't know. I'll let my players be the judge of that, but it works both ways. That's what I'm more interested in is what is fair for the players is fair for the enemies the players are facing. And this also happens in social encounters too. If someone is being as eloquent as possible, in their speech, and they happen to roll an out one, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to take into consideration the words the player is actually saying, because it is a role-playing game and they are playing the role. I'm going to put more consideration in the words they said than the role. Now, they may have made a faux pas. They may have done something that they didn't realize was against the cultural norm of society. That is what the nat one is to me. It's like, oh, you're not supposed to bow to the king. You're supposed to take a knee before the king when you speak. But instead you bowed because you didn't know any better. And that's your nat one. And the same thing works again, for the enemies as the players. So if my enemies roll a nat one, well, things go sideways for them in a hurry. Not that the game is skewed in any way, in the player's favor. It's all in the dice rolls for the most part. Fortune favor the bold, sure, but sometimes dice are just cold and uncaring. So when it comes to the game master side of things and my enemies are rolling out ones, well, I'm damaging my enemies because I really don't care who wins at the end of the night. Did we have fun? Yeah, but then we won. Who cares? And if I natural one in a social situation, in my player's advantage, I might slip up and give them a little additional information than they would have otherwise gained because my NPC was too drunk or didn't fully understand what was being asked. And feel free to disagree with me. I'm not perfect. I am fallible. I am human. You don't have to agree with me. I'm just offering, my points of view and how I handled it in my table. So,
what about the overpowered or rareness, Jaide?
Overpowered? It's not really overpowered. And the reason it's not overpowered because again, it works both ways. And I don't really lean into the idea of, oh, you rolled in that one. Well, I'm going to punish you to the depths of hell for that. No, I'm not going to. I don't care about that. You rolled in that one. I said what happened. Let's move on. It's not about being overpowered. On either side of the table. I am there
for your system. You I think you said last week about they get an opportunity attack or something like that, but it's kind of like
3-5. Yeah,
your ruling on it is very samey on both sides. So there's none of that.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Exactly. If I'm running 3-5, it's the attack for opportunity for crit fumbles. That's just for ease of use and play. It's something all my players are used to. Rolling out one, okay, attack for opportunity. Go ahead and tag me. I did something dumb. Okay. But for index card RPG, I'm taking a slightly different tact. I'm encouraging the use of status effects or role play status effects that might sway the outcome in different directions based on what effect they are affected by. If I nat one an attack and I brain myself, okay, I took a penalty to my wisdom for a little bit. If I natural one a social situation, I am now marked by the crown, and everybody in this kingdom will now know me as a disgracer of the crown. It will affect the game and role play situations how it best fits, in my opinion.
Awesome. Kai, shall I reread the question? Shall I reread the question for you?
Please do.
All right. Okay. How can game masters and players balance the power and impact of fumbles in a way that feels fair and engaging for all participants without making them too overpowered or too rare.
Make it organic. Make it fit the story. Make it fit what's happening. What's happening. If you're nowhere near a friend, I'm sorry, you're not a grandmaster discus thrower who manages to spin around their great sword in a great big arc and then hammer throw that great sword with the speed and accuracy of a god into the side, 10 feet into the side of of your friend. Sorry, that's not what actually.
Who's told you about my character?
Yeah, I'm sorry. When you're playing your character and you're sitting here, fighting with your great sword or your sword and shield, you don't just because you rolled a 1 start spinning around like a Tasmanian devil and then hammer throwing that bitch out there. Sorry, that's just not. It's like I'm sorry, you're not playing a master archer and then suddenly, out of nowhere, twang, the arrow goes and pulls a Looney Tunes and bounces 3 ways around the room and does an impossible grand shot that manages to somehow shoot the wizard behind you. I don't know how this shit happens. You can't actually pull that off. Don't ever have it do something that can't actually, that if the player wasn't able to do it, don't let it actually happen. When you have a fumble, it's like when you have a failure to analyze something, it may just simply be 15 minutes later the ship explodes due to you didn't pay attention to the hangar bay filling with gasoline fumes, and then shit went wrong, and oh my fucking god, everything's on fire.
Why is things
shit should happen. Shit should go wrong, but it should feel right. It shouldn't feel like suddenly you're playing. It's like the more Looney Tunes you make the game, the more super over the top the failures are, the less it feels like a good game. So if you want to make it actually, not every failure has to be catastrophic. Not every failure. So as long as it's just simply a fun, fitting the situation, and this means that you have to be as a GM. I know this is hard to do. Tell a story and make sure it fits the story as the game is unfolding. You have to be moving along with it. I'm sorry. The more you depend on a chart to do all your work for you, the more stupid happens. The more randomness, the more I don't depend. The more you let a computer or a chart or some dice do all your deciding for you, the more stupid it becomes. The more inane it becomes. It breaks that immersion. It breaks the feel of what's going on. It just simply comes down to you have to be good at telling a story, good at telling the game, and actually making it fit. Sorry, not every sword is going to go chop your friend's head off, or you accidentally did your arm and now you don't have one because you fumbled badly. Oh, can any other attack do that? No, sorry, crit chart, that doesn't happen because nobody else has that ability. It just comes down to have fun, damn it, and do it right. That's all.
I like it. Baron, you following along, or should I read this one out again?
Well, I'm going to have to go along with the rest. It is a evil thing that there is no such thing as balance. Dice are not balanced. They do what they want to do. They roll how they want to roll. You can either throw them out into the yard, you can put them in the freezer, you can punish them any way you wish.
The gulag. They go into the gulag, not the freezer.
Yes.
It's called the gulag.
But either way, this is what happens. But the way of balance would be, oh well, look, the giants that you're fighting, the hill giants, they're right next to each other. One of them rolled a nat 1. Oh, he hit his buddy in the head. Oh no. It can go both ways. and it just depends on how you want to, as a GM, play it out. Whether you want to have it as it's only going to affect the players, which to me is bullshit. But you want it to affect both ways. If it rolls it rolls it. I am the type of person, I don't fudge my rolls. If I'm DMing, but it happens how it happens. And good, bad, indifferent, the dice are the dice. And I guess the best way to put it is to kind of look back at a film that had a few movies in its series. May the odds be ever in your favor. That's how the dice are going to work at your table.
Okay, I want to get to what's actually my favorite question that Baron wrote up for this, and I'm gonna start with you, Kai, and go in reverse order. What are some strategies for describing critical fumbles in a way that feels immersive and exciting, and how can game masters and players use language and imagery to heighten the impact of these moments?
Oh dear. I think I've been already doubling over most of these concepts for a while now. It really just comes down to, I really can't just off the top of my head tell you how it is, because honestly, it comes up to the situation that's at hand. Like, this is just something to GMs just need to learn what's going on and learn what things can do, and then make sure that as you're describing the skill or attack failures in a competent, intelligent way, and please try to keep it as, unless you're playing a cartoon game or you're playing a superhero stupidity game. Yes, I'm sorry. But if you're playing anything else, try to make it look and sound like it would fit into the game that you're playing, rather than just simply rubber band physics and even magic. This is why you should understand the magic system that's actually happening and what it can do, so that way you can describe failures in magic, when you can describe failures in saves, when you can describe, interestingly, a failure to attack, a failure to make your acrobatics check. So it's not just simply, oh, you failed, and now you pull a Wile E. Coyote, and then because you came 5 foot too short, and oops, we fall to your death. Be able to have a learn, study, watch things, try to figure out how to make it so that way also when you do your failures, make sure that it's actually entertaining that you're not just punishing the player to the point where, sorry, you auto failed, rocks fall, I'll die, game over, make new character, goodbye. Bullshit, because that's no fun. You're gonna have an angry player afterwards. You got to make it so that way it's at least enjoyable and not embarrassing. Don't humiliate. A lot of these charts, a lot of these brutal mentalities are just there to humiliate and make someone feel terrible because their dice roll was bad. No, the failure should open up our opportunities. It should be engaging, fun, and, well, not fun, but I leave them room to actually possibly recover, and not just be a sheer punishment because you have a 1 in 20 chance every time you roll, or a 1 in 100, a 2 in 100 if you roll a D100, or whatever that is to get the minimum roll for your game engine, to have a horrible event happen. You just really need to make it so that way, yeah, it's an inconvenience. Yeah, it hurts. Yeah, something bad's happening. But don't make it so crippling that it leaves your player utterly demoralized to the point where they're like, fuck this game, why the hell am I even here? Because I've had a few GMs in the past who do that kind of shit. And where they use your ones to make you feel bad for even being at the table. And it leaves you uncaring, especially if you give a really harsh, punishing, misery-inducing critical failure, one that just leaves them crippled and to the point where they're like, what the fuck did I didn't do anything. I didn't do anything that wrong. I rolled a 1 out of 20, a 5% chance, and now you're punishing me to the point where I have nothing. Oh, fantastic, GM. Excuse me while I don't give a fuck for the rest of the game. Because especially if you make it so misery. So that's why you got to make sure that when you're doing it, it's an engaging, interesting story, and it just doesn't. It doesn't feel terrible. And so yeah, it really just take the situation, make it an inconvenience, make it something that could be potentially bad later on the route, but don't make it so that way the player feels like there's no fucking hope left, and there's just like, why the fuck do I even try anymore? And that just means that some of us GMs might have to not be complete grade A, 100% USDA certified asshole. And I know some of you guys jerk off to how much of an asshole you can be to players. And I hope you die miserable and alone in an old folks home with no one to love you.
Wow.
Wow.
Have you seen some of the
feel so personally attacked right now.
What was that?
Damn.
What was that?
I feel so personally attacked right now.
I'm sorry.
Don't hold back. Tell us how you really feel about that, Kai.
Have you been to some of the nursing homes here in Illinois? They kind of know.
Is Jaide coming back?
I don't
He had an
think-
emergency.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hope everything's okay. Real quick, before I go on to you, Bruce. One of these days, Kai, I'm gonna show you how a superhero game can actually be epic without buying into the Marvel DC dumpster fire that's been that way for decades.
The big problem is that a one shot will never be epic, and a campaign to be actually feel like it's epic will take a lot of time to actually grow into making it actually fun. But the problem here is that as cool as it could possibly be, you gotta also factor in that most of the other people who are signing up to play a superhero campaign are going to be a bunch of knuckle dragging, stinky fucking, horse shit breathed comic book readers. So they're going to come in. So I may want to come in and play a really good game that may be cool and fun, but I'm going to be with discount Spider-Man, discount Wolverine, discount mutant retard, and discount Superman. And that's
you discount my ability to vet players there, Kai. Trust me.
But I've been doing
this for a while.
I don't trust superhero fans. I don't trust superhero comic readers.
I'll give you a little.
I have spent too much time working in a comic book store and working conventions. I don't trust or have a high opinion of comic book fans.
Well, my secret to the success is, Kai, I never tell them it's a superhero game.
Interesting. Never tell them a superhero. Okay.
But the moment I have flight, laser beams, regeneration, and invincibility, it's a superhero game. That's about what it becomes.
Who says I give any of that shit away?
Then
There's a lot of ways to be
what
super.
Superheroes are we? Are we playing is our superhero power lots of money?
If you're lucky, then you play your cards right.
Is Ben Stiller in this in a superhero game?
Because
fuck Ben Stiller. Fuck Ben Stiller. Ben Stiller. You heard me. I can't stand that guy.
But if my superhero power is I have more cash than you, and I could buy tricks and gadgets, I could play Cyberpunk or Shadowrun and do something just as cool than fly around in my Magic Man armor suit that shoots laser beams from my hand because I have a car battery in my chest, and or I have a grappling hook and more money than brains, and I'm scary because I ate a dump truck of gravel, and now I'm boomerang. Yeah, no fucking.
All right. Let's move along. Bruce, I'm going to reread it for you because I like I said, I really like this question, and I'm curious to see if people are picking up what I think Baron was laying down with this one. What are some strategies for describing critical fumbles in a way that feel immersive and exciting, and how can game masters and players use language and imagery to heighten the impact of these moments?
I think we've been talking about this throughout the entire night tonight. Going back to the beat up the binary, you hit, you miss, you hit, you miss, you hit, you miss. No, I think a good DM, the dice help out quite a bit just to figure out if there is success or failure. But a good DM will find a way to interpret these mechanical clickety clath math rocks. They will find a way to interpret that into some narrative prose that should engage the players on some sort of level to where they feel like they're actually participating and helping the group they're part of. The critical fumbles shine best, in my opinion, when your lowly 1 out of 20 roll comes up and it merely hampers you or delays your success. Maybe by a half hour, maybe by 8 hours of game time. I don't know. However, there are times where somebody doesn't need to roll dice to have a critical fumble. And like I said, we're going back to Second Lieutenant Tommy, who can't read a fucking map with a compass on it. And he ends up getting the entire platoon led a field about maybe 150 miles away from where they're supposed to be. And you only have how many liters of water, guys? Oh, 10 total for the 70 of you. Awesome. Yeah, this is a real good idea. So I'm
Have you been watching my Dark Sun review there, Bruce?
I'm not actually, but I completely empathize with it. I'm just saying that, like, you have times where people don't need dice to to critically fail. And if the player sees the light, sees the logic, and he turns away from it, and you can't educate him, you have to let him experience failure, then by all means, go ahead, let him have failure. Let him eat it. Let him eat that giant plate of crow, and let him do that. But keep in mind, DMs, if you have a TPK because one guy is just a fucking idiot, you've got to spend another 3 to 4 hours getting all the characters ready to go and correlating. Hey guys, we're going to try it this time. Hopefully this time you guys won't die. You're better off to not have such a severe result. And I know that sounds like blasphemy for you that think, no, let the dice fall where they may. Okay, listen, I've got over 70 confirmed total party kills in my D&D gaming. Okay, in my running games as a hobby, over 70 tables have been completely wiped out, mostly by the players, not so much by my bad guys. Although there was a time where the players just pissed me off in Springfield, and they did find a Balor. But anyway, I want to say that you want to use the critical fumbles with a bit of discretion, with the big D word, discretion. And that means that sometimes you don't just throw your weapon to the kobolds. Sometimes you thought he was taller. Okay, you did critically fumble, but I don't want to read the result on this card because this card makes no sense. This card tells me that you decapitated yourself. This is the first round of combat in your fucking campaign career. Do I want to have you really have that result and make you think that I'm out to fucking gack you every which way but loose? No. Let's save that for the next 10 or 12 sessions, and you can confirm that I'm out to get you. But I want you to at least enjoy the game, have a chance to enjoy it.
I don't want them to die embarrassed.
Yeah, I don't want you to go home with your dick in the dirt and thinking that everything was your fault. I don't want the player to completely get dejected from the game and just feel like absolute misery. When I get off the city bus tonight and walk into my apartment with my mom, I'm going to wander up to the room and paint the ceiling. And I don't want that to happen. I want the player to at least have a chance to enjoy the game and see why we have been involved with this for years.
Now, if the person has multiple color hair and they decide to spray the ceiling, do you get a rainbow?
I love our dark humor. I
All right, Connell, since you interrupted, Connell, did you have something to add, Bruce?
No, I just want to say I need at the table sometimes you need to make up your own critical fumble, because if you're using the cards or using a chart, you're going to have something happen as a result. And if you use it, let it fall where it may, you're going to have something that makes no sense. Just instead, your DM come up with it on the fly and move on. It shouldn't take an extra 45 seconds for you to interpret what's going on to the players. But I would suggest that you don't follow my advice. Go ahead, use the cards, use the charts, and let yourself experience that failure of having something that was pulled up on the roll, or you pulled this off the deck and it doesn't make sense. If you don't want to follow my lead on that and just make up your own result, it might be better than, you look at the card. Yes, go ahead and you look at the card, get an idea, but if it doesn't make sense to you, just pull something off the top of your head, kid. That's what I think you need to do, because you want to exercise that gray matter anyway. The charts and all that stuff, that's just there really if you come up as a blank spot in that mind of yours while this battle's going on. And speed it up, because Dungeons and Dragons is notoriously slow for combat resolution.
Connell, what you got on this one?
Repeat the question, please.
No.
But you liked it so much.
Cover asshole.
You want to tell me you don't have Discord within 3 clicks? Okay, I'm going to read the question. What are some strategies for describing critical fumbles in a way that feels immersive and exciting, and how can game masters and players use language and imagery to heighten the impact of these moments?
Speaking of people that are real afraid, Condor just released the video, but that's besides the point.
We don't talk about trash pandas on this channel.
You insult the fucking trash panda.
Oh, shit. So, how do I describe them? Okay, so you're fighting goblins, right? And you go to swing and you roll in that one. Then I have you confirm it because I believe in good old day mechanics. This auto-confirm bullshit, I know it's old school, but it's not, the school that I went to. You confirm your rolls. You roll. Your sword goes into the goblin, but as you pull it out, it gets stuck. Stuck on what? Stuck on bones, stuck on organs. You've tried to shimmy and shake it. It just does not want to come out. Now you have a weapon that has became a kebab with a goblin on it. What do? Well, you have minus something to your strength because you can't just wave a goblin around.
Yes, I can.
And what if you stab such creature and the sword breaks as you pull it out? Yay, I killed the creature, but I have a broken sword. Or the monster of the week is now stuck on your weapon and you can't get the weapon retrieved from.
Can't get the booger off your finger?
Yeah. I hate ones it's like, well, you're an archer, so if you roll that one and confirm it, your bowstring breaks. So, okay, that shit does happen. I'll give you that one. But you're out for the rest of the combat. How long does you think it takes for a professional archer to restring his bow? Seriously. So
depends on whether or not he actually has one handy, and it's not like tucked away in his backpack, and he's got to, drop the bow on, all that. Yeah, I get it. I've seen it happen to you many a time.
So I think to make the crits more relatable, more realistic, not realistic, more impactful, you have to use common sense things. Telling an archer that he's out combat for like 2 rounds because that takes That's how long it takes him to string a bow. Your full didn't okay, sure, not really, but all right. That's gonna leave a bad taste in my mouth. But you tell
How
the
long is a
person
round, Donald? How long is a round?
6 seconds.
Yeah, I would give you a lot more than 2 rounds.
Why?
Unless you tell me. Oh, well, because I'm going to ask. Otherwise, you're going to have to tell me exactly where you store those particular
Quick
strings.
draw. Okay, let's go with mechanics. I broke a string. Oh, that's awesome. Quick, what you're doing in the next turn. Quick draw is a mechanic in Pathfinder and 3.5 and a few other editions, I think, where you pull a string out of there and you put it on. That's 1 round. It should only take, if you do it right, it should only take the player 1 round.
I literally have to see somebody do it with a stopwatch.
Yeah, I almost want to go on YouTube and start looking for restringing a bow as in the search bar and just see exactly how long it takes for people to.
We're not
dig
talking
through.
about weekend warriors. We're talking about people that live and die by their weapons.
Yeah.
Okay, an Olympic level, maybe a little bit less, but I still think you're almost putting a superheroic aspect into the character. If he's a first level archer, yeah, it could take him weeks.
At least 10 rounds.
Unless you've got them in a place like wrapped around your wrist or something, or something just as easy.
But the mechanics of Pathfinder, using Pathfinder as my example, is it doesn't matter where it's at as long as it's not deeply buried. And if you're a professional archer, your string should not be professional, should not be buried too far. You should be able to retrieve it fairly quickly.
Again, stop watching. I think, but we're getting into the weeds.
Constantly. I'm with Connell on this one. It does not take.
I like that.
Okay, it doesn't take long, but the thing is that in combat, things are different than whenever you're in the backyard.
I do dag here where I'm in combat when I'm shooting my bow.
Right, but if someone's like near you, etc., it just seems like 12 seconds is a.
If you're playing your archer where the bad guy can get within 12 seconds, you're playing your archer wrong. Go fucking home.
Well, yeah, that's great if you're always like 40 or 50 yards away from the party, but sometimes that's not actually what's going on. But let's get to Baron with his answer to this question. Shall I reread it for the 5th time?
Yes.
All right. I knew you were gonna. Okay.
All right.
Because when you read it, wait, hold on. When you read it, the hair blows a little bit. You got that whole Fabio type thing going on with it.
I'm telling you.
I know.
All right.
Head and Shoulders commercial right there.
Sponsorship.
Head and Shoulders. I don't do the dandruff thing. No, that's for scabby. Oh, yeah, never mind. What are some strategies for describing fumbles in a way that feels immersive and exciting? And how can game masters and players use language and imagery to heighten the impact of these moments?
It's very easy. And, I'll go along with Bruce. We've been talking about that all night long. And, it is to me, the imagery and impact and get ready to drink goes back to the story. It's all about the story. The story is everything. Anything you do within the TTRPG, when you roll your dice, when you are talking to NPCs, when you are even, you get drunk and you start hitting on the bar winch. That is all part of the story. When Bruce runs out and all he has is a sock over his he's just got the penis warmer on. That's part of the story too. And the thing is that when you are doing it, you can also see, is it going to impact the character, and how is it going to impact the character? Going back to Connell's, with the goblin stuck on the sword. The barbarian goes into a rage and he starts wielding it. Now he has a +1 sword of goblins, clobbering or something. I don't know, but it a lot of times it comes up to the actual PCs to come up with a way of turning a negative into a positive. And that's one thing that I really, really enjoy watching is when they're able to do that. Turn that negative into a positive. Oh, well, I got a goblin stuck on my sword. Okay. Oh, look, there's a goblin right coming up behind him. Run. Well, guess what? Now I get a plus on my defense because I've got a goblin shield.
You got a meat shield, sure.
I got a legit meat shield. It's the size of a buckler. Give me a +2 to my armor class. Turn that. I've seen people do that type of thing before, and it's actually not only is it funny, just the visualization of it, but the players are talking about afterwards. Going, I can't believe you used that goblin as a meat shield. What were you thinking? He goes, I was just trying to survive. That literally, I've heard that conversation at my table before. So it's not all fumbles turn out bad, and that's the thing: is how does it move the story? Not the overall arc. Maybe it's that player's story. Maybe it's something he tries again later on down the road. Hey, this worked for me once. I'm going to stick my sword in all the way through, push it all the way through, and I'm going to bum rush someone. That sounds exactly like something a barbarian would do. Maybe that would be funny. And then when he gets done, he can just whip the sword, and then he has a projectile. Throwing the goblin. It's all about what you can think about. If it's in your brain, it's a fantasy / sci-fi / whatever you're playing system. It's a game, and if you can visualize it, it can happen. If you can convince your GM that yes, even when I fumble, I do amazing things. Cool. Now, for other types of fumbles and stuff like that, for instance, if you have someone trying to stab that goblin, overhand strike, they miss and they stick themselves in the leg. That happens. If you think back to and I'm going to use movie here, even though it's kind of an to some people. But how many times have you watched a fight? Whether it's in a fantasy setting or in an actual, whatever, where the bad guys try to do something and they wind up hurting themselves. That happens. Fights are not all, beauty and grace. Things happen. This is why, as my wife says, you don't make plans, you make agendas, because plans do not survive first contact with the enemy. And agendas, they can be changed on the fly.
That's why I use the word theory. In theory, I have plans this weekend. Why in theory? Because God only knows what's going to happen this weekend.
Amen.
Believe it or not, I want to reread the question one last time with emphasis on 3 words that I don't think Baron realized. I
realized it. I just ignored them.
Oh, okay. How can game masters and players use? Oh, no, that's the wrong question. Wow. What are some strategies for describing critical fumble in a way that feels immersive and exciting? And how can game masters and players use language and imagery to heighten the impact of these moments? Grandma hit on it earlier. Can you bring up her comment? The one about the words?
A thesaurus.
I'll show you a source.
If you can find it. Right, there you go. This is a game of words, okay? For everybody involved, yes, there are dice and miniatures and all kinds of, paper and pencils and all that crap. But it's a game of words. If you do not practice your narrations, especially when the players aren't around, practice narrating fumbles and criticals and just even descriptions of things in your off time. The more you do it, the more you practice, you can come up with your own lines that you can always refer to later on, as if you were memorizing your lines for, a movie or a play or something like that. Maybe go and find your favorite movie, right? With lots of, combat or sword play. Turn off the volume and narrate it as if someone in the room was blind and you were going to tell them what was happening on the screen, or try to remember scenes or lines from books that you can borrow to practice how you're going to narrate these fumbles or even critical hits, so that when it's your turn to let them know what's happening, okay, you rolled a crit and maybe you use the chart of the cards and it says this, but then you've got something ready on tap to describe it, whether it's the flow of the blood, the gush, the splash, the sounds, the smells, all those things. Bruce is really good at using scent in when he game masters, letting the players know the smells of things. That's a great thing, because smell is a fabulous reminder to our brain of things of the past, or just feelings and situations we've been in. Maybe you're not a smell guy. Sorry, Bruce, didn't mean it the way it sounded. But maybe you're more visual, or maybe you're you're more into the sounds, the crack of the bone, the clank of the armor, the sound of steel on steel. Maybe those are more to your liking or more your forte when it comes to describing things. But the more you describe things, the more you get into it, the more immersive you can make your players feel, because that's what they're going to take away at the end of the game is your words, whether you realize it or not. What you just told them may stick with them for decades to come. I was in Crafty Matt Craft's Conan game, and that was one of the things I liked about his game the most, is he went into not overly so, but he went into the details of the dramatic moments, and he would take over a little bit and describe it so that the players got hit with all of this emotion and this feeling and the visuals that we were all playing online, so they just came at us to make those scenes have more substance because of the choice words and maybe the tone or the enthusiasm that he put forth, the ideas and the narrations. That would be my strategy for every GM for just about every situation, is get some practice in when you're not actually at the table, because maybe you're a little rusty. I know I've been in the past. So that would be my answer to this question.
Well, you mentioned about the whole smell thing. I'm surprised Bruce didn't bring out the bar of Duke Cannon and do a Duke Cannon commercial right there on the spot. I am very disappointed. There it is.
I was just going to say, I bet that's what he's doing. That's why we can't see his only hand, because he went to go get the visual aid.
It's the hand balm.
I mean, Bruce is doing pretty good. He got a call out last night on Gatekeepers for his coffee. Now he got a call out for the soap.
We're here to make him money.
Everybody knows that I say no words on Max's streams now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
but
Freeman, I guess. Yeah, Okay, that's the handball. There we go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is like the epitome of critical fumbles right here. You ever seen two drunk people fight? A whole lot of fumbles.
Yeah, I
This
have.
is I used to work in bars back in my earlier days, and yes,
Yeah.
Yes.
You want to stop it, but at the same time, you want to watch the train wreck. It's like,
well, it's fine until the girls start getting into it and they start pulling each other's hair out, and it gets weird.
do I call the cops or do I get a camera?
Well, not when you wind up with a pile of fake hair,
Yeah.
like on the floor at the end of the night. It's just wrong. All right, so we want to thank everybody. We originally had scheduled for next week for me to do the Stargate. Being with some of the things that have been going on with me, I unfortunately have not had a whole lot of time to repent to that's been going on behind the scenes type thing. Guys here on the panel know, you all don't, but that's fine. So next week is actually we're going to move some things around. And
I wanted to talk to Baron after the show. He can stick around for a few minutes. I think I got something that might help.
Okay, that's no problem. But what we are going to wind up doing is necromancy used in a good campaign. So, oh yes,
please. Oh God, yes.
I knew.
Okay, before
I seen this one come up, and I knew Kai was going to be all about this.
I asked before
I've just got 2 words. Venture Brothers.
Before the show got started with everything that's going on, I asked Baron, is this a drinking one? Should I go grab a couple beers before we get this going? Didn't get much of an answer. Next week, oh yeah, I'm definitely gonna have a couple beers on standby because holy fuck, necromancy, medicine that just works backwards. Yeah, whatever.
Well,
It's healthcare after you need it.
Well, it's a necromancer. He wants to check on your body's afterlife warranty.
Oh god, okay.
I am building a computer out of skeletons. Each skeleton knows its job. Hand up, hand down.
So make sure you join us for that.
Giggity.
Yada, what do you got coming up this week? Anything good? Anything bad? Anything indifferent?
You said Con or Shadow? I didn't hear that. Sorry.
Shadow.
That's what I thought.
Actually, depending on when I get the hell out of here, I'm supposed to do a craft video with me and the boy showing off some scenery we've been making. And then Saturday, I've got a sci-fi shadow chat. What the topic is, I haven't the freaking foggiest. I've had a couple of really good ones lately, and now of course I'm drawing a blank. And then of course going to be hanging out with Connell. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Sunday?
I will, but I gotta get through Saturday first.
Oh, okay.
So Saturday, I'll be hanging out with Bruce and his motley crew as we are again pushed up against a barrel by a bunch of fire giants. Then Sunday. Well, Sunday is my birthday, and we will be talking about the 1990s. I can't remember when this movie came out. Faculty movie. It has It has an aspect of the body snatchers to it, high school shenanigans, and oh wait, Frodo before he returned to Middle Earth. That's what I got going on. And sometime next week, I got to talk to Justin. But me and Justin are going to start reviewing old Skyrim videos from other creators.
Oh,
just
sorry.
hang out.
You're watching The Faculty?
Yeah.
Let us know what you. I'll have to watch that after stream. I'm sorry. That sounds like it'd be a lot of fun to watch.
It was.
I'm watching that movie. There's some really good about it. There's some really bad about it. But I'll let you watch and refresh, and then do your stream before I talk shop with you on that one.
Okay.
All right. Brucifer, what do you got?
Well, tomorrow night's Friday, so you'll see me over at probably Janet's shit show after about 8:00 in the evening. Before then, I'll probably be orbiting in the Max Leal chat for Legion of Myth, maybe on panel. I don't know. But Saturday, the players might actually get past a certain checkpoint on this damn fire giant volcano, which means that the party might actually have a chance to win. We'll see how this happens. We'll see.
I don't believe it.
I just need a bag of holding and a portable hole.
You're going to suck out a lot of obsidian, and that will be the majority of your take on that. Oh yeah, you did get those 4 fire giants that you were fighting though. Good job.
Hey, that's just my cure for all giants. So one fits all.
Okay. And Elle wants to know if you're looking for a husband in Hello Kitty Island.
No, but we'll be reviewing that one.
All right, yeah, that's my plan. And then Sunday I'll be hanging out with Mock and Eat doing the art stream, trying to finish up the paint job on these guys. But that's the weekend for me. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. Hi.
It's my off week. I don't do anything on game weekends. And
Well, there's nothing in the musings.
No, I've actually been kind of lazy for the last couple of weeks. I haven't had anything to really grab me because I've been working on something else quietly in the background. That's not ready yet. And honestly, I haven't had anyone angry at me or any reason to write a whole screed. I've been really peaceful and calm. I mean, if somebody gives me an idea what to write, I'll write you anything. I just don't have anything right now. I'm at peace with the world. It's beautiful.
Yeah, we can't have this.
That's a blessing.
Someone in Bruce's Discord poking. See what happens.
Yeah, it's actually nice to not be completely frazzled out and angry at everything at all times, and I can just go. I don't have anything to be angry about. I'm in a good mood. I'm
going to say one word. Ginny D. Go.
Who?
Nothing. Ginny D.
No. That was even better. Just leave it be right there.
Is there drama I missed? I don't know.
All right. So, everyone, we definitely want to thank you for joining us tonight. We definitely do appreciate everyone who's been in here and all the chats, the Binks raid, the regulars, everybody who just stopped by, taking a little bit of time out to listen to us talk about something we love, which is tabletop role playing. We'll catch you next week.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.